Hey, welcome back to Get Down to Business, the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. Today we have Jordan Whelan with us, the founder of Gray Smoke Media. Jordan has a fascinating background spanning TV and radio production, publicity, and even managing over $3 billion in class action claims communication. He's a true expert in the marketing world with a decade of mastering media buying and digital marketing, managing over $50 million in ad spend. Under his leadership, Gray Smoke Media has achieved remarkable success. I'm not going to go through all of the accolades, but suffice to say, there are many. Jordan Whelan, welcome to the show.
I would love if you went through all the accolades. It would make me feel better.
Oh, good. Well, we'll do that for a long form podcast. But Jordan, man, oh man, you have done a lot and you have seen a lot of changes in the marketing world, haven't you?
Oh, certainly. I mean, now AI is taking over and it's a whole different beast. So it's very difficult to keep up at this point.
Oh my goodness. Absolutely. Jordan, really grateful to have you on the show. You've seen a lot of the change. We just covered that in the first few seconds, but let's look ahead. How do you see AI, SEO, search engine optimization, some of these key tools that I know you and your clients have been utilizing? How do you see them evolving into the next few years, heading into, 2026 through 2030 and beyond?
I think tactically, when it comes to AI, we're thinking, how can we counter this, right? It's inevitable. And what I've been really leaning into with my clients is humanizing yourself. So if you have content on your website that's easily replicated by anyone else, say it's your competitor, you want to move towards what makes you human, what makes you compassionate, anecdotes, different elements where you can counter that, where AI can't replicate that. And so that's what we're talking about with our clients is when you're putting out content, when you're bringing in clients for lead generation, how do they connect with you? The reason women love Beyonce is not just because of the music. It's about how she makes them feel.
Jordan, given your experience with a wide range of clients, especially law firms, what's the biggest marketing mistake that you see businesses making?
I think a lot of people, when we call it the monkey bus, it's when you're in the bias, right? You listen to your colleagues and you listen to about 20 people and you realize that you think you're a lot better than you are. You think you're a lot more interesting than you are. And the biggest mistake people make is they don't connect on a human level, harkening back to what we were just talking about. If I go to your website, how do I feel? What do the colors evoke in me? How do I connect with you? And also, what is your unique value proposition? When I come to you, are you a law firm? Great. There's 10,000 other law firms across the nation, but how do you succinctly tell me what you're about and what you're trying to promote? And sometimes that can take up to 6 months to get to.
So you need to allow that time. We're going to talk some more advice in a moment. Again, I'm chatting with Jordan Whelan. And Jordan, many of our listeners are in that small business community, entrepreneurs, maybe with a couple of different businesses. But these small businesses struggle. They struggle to compete with larger players that have bigger budgets and more runway, like you said, the 6 months and so on. If a business has a limited marketing budget, how can they effectively stretch it to maximize impact?
The answer is creativity. Right now I'm driving. I also make music on the side under my stage name, Jordan Power. It's just kind of become a side hobby, but it's doing really well. And I'm driving right now traffic of about 25,000 hits a month from an unconventional traffic source that people don't tap into. So it's creativity. That's why you hire a company like Gray Smoke Media or any of my other competitors. But one of the other things is really digging down into the granular data. I had a client that was a family lawyer and they were running radio ads and they had half the spend of their competitor. And they said, how do I compete with them? And I said, the answer is we're going to figure out who's actually initiating these divorces. And we found out that 70% of divorces were initiated by women. And then we found that most couples were fighting in the morning on the way to work. And so we decided to run our ads exclusively in that morning interval after people had fought with their spouses and were sort of contemplating the future of their marriage. And we were able to get a much higher ROI by just using these tactics. And this data is readily available, especially AI, you can leverage it. But a lot of people, they just do the spray and pray approach, right? Where they kind of buy radio ads and think, God, I'm so great. My creative's so great. I'm going to connect with people. And it's really not about that. It's about being very strategic about how we spend your money.
Jordan, I can't recall the last time that I've recorded a show where I have not learned something new, but I have to say, I just my mouth has just dropped. What staggering statistics! That's incredible. Again, I'm chatting with Jordan Whelan, who is the founder of Gray Smoke Media. Absolutely fascinating background, as you've just been hearing over the past few minutes. Under his leadership, Gray Smoke Media has achieved remarkable success, notably helping Diamond & Diamond Lawyers become Canada's top injury and real estate law firm. Jordan's insights have been featured in major publications like the New York Post and Forbes. And as you just heard, he's also an accomplished singer-songwriter with millions of streams on Spotify. There's so much more that we could talk about Jordan. But bottom line, this is an incredibly competitive market, and it continues to be so. Sometimes businesses encounter aggressive marketing tactics from their competitors. How can a business effectively neutralize those tactics? And what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see businesses making in ad buying and media buying?
The biggest mistake I've seen lately is not leveraging Google, right? SEO is changing dramatically. Some of the traffic that's gone is not coming back. But on a local basis, we were able to optimize a client's local SEO page and drive an extra $100,000 a month just posting content on there, just optimizing it for keywords. These were things that took maybe 2 months to do, but you'd be surprised how many people don't even invest in things like that. The reason Google is king is because psychologically it's a conduit that connects you directly with the people that you want, right? I'm searching for a red couch. Boom, here's who sells red couches. Versus other advertising is sort of intrusive. But in terms of neutralizing client spend, you want to iterate on it. So you want to take what they're doing and do it a little bit better, run a focus group, figure out what they're doing wrong and kind of iterate on that. Even if you have a smaller budget, one time we had a client that was running, or a competitor that was running in $1 million ad campaign, and they were using 3 words that weren't trademarked. And so what we did is we essentially just ranked our client number 1 on Google for those 3 words. And so whenever people would hear the ads over and over, they would just Google, what's that company that's XYZ? And they would Google it and they'd end up on our client's website. And I think we drove probably 25,000 hits over a couple months, for, essentially neutralizing the entire spend of the competitor.
Incredible. Jordan, I want to dial it back and talk a little bit about your background, because you've become the subject matter expert in many of these areas, and you're teaching our listeners so much over here. When did you get interested in this topic? And I guess crystal ball is something I was just talking to another guest about. Where do you see things going, and how do you stay motivated on this evolving market?
What actually motivates me at this point in my life, and a little later on in my career, I've been doing this for about 12 years, is really just connecting with people spiritually and personally, and working for people that I want to see do well, people that look the waiter in the eye, people that shake their hand, people that treat people well. That's what's important to me. That's what keeps me motivated at this point. In terms of how I got into this space, I just was approached by, I initially started with Diamond & Diamond as a law firm, and I was doing their PR, and they said, hey, can you do our media buying? I said, what's that? And I just kept teaching myself different elements of the marketing mix. And then eventually Gray Smoke is, we were a generalized marketing firm, but now Gray Smoke Media is the only all-in-one legal marketing firm in the world, actually, where you can come to us for everything. And what really keeps me motivated at this point is just, I'm a very left-right brain person. I kind of like tapping into both. It's just creativity, coming up with unique ways to harness traffic, things that people don't really think about, getting out of the sandbox of what everyone else is doing and trying to find new ways to pull people into your business. And one of the biggest things I've learned in all this is it really is about connecting with your clients. It's about listening to them. It's about looking them in the eye. And, you can only fake so many online reviews from friends and family. At the end of the day, it's going to catch up to you if you don't invest in your clients. And so that's what I always tell people is have a conversation, a protracted conversation with a client of yours, and ask them how you made them feel and where you got them in the marketing funnel, and you'll learn a lot.
Mm-hmm. Well, lastly, Jordan, I know you bring a unique approach and perspective to business coaching, incorporating energetic alignment and preservation. Can you explain how these concepts can drive wealth expansion and business growth?
Sure. So, but on a subconscious level, a lot of people hold limiting beliefs around money. If they grow up in a certain environment, they don't think they should have money. They think it's bad. They think the people that have money are bad. So I work with my clients to overwrite that. You can do things like subliminal meditation, breath work, stuff like that. And then if you're into metaphysics, money is energy, and you have to align with it. So through meditation, I've been able to pull in a lot of abundance to my life. But visualization is really important, not just just for subconscious programming, but, can you see yourself as this person that you want to become? Do you actually believe it? And I look into a lot of Joe Dispenza's work and stuff like that for where to head in that direction.
Jordan, I want to make sure our listeners can get in touch with you and find out about all your services and resources. How can they do so?
GreySmokeMedia.com, GREY, SmokeMedia.com. You can book a meeting or reach out to us if we're aligned.
Jordan, I look forward to having you back on. What a great conversation, Jordan Whelan. We've got to squeeze in a quick break here on the show, all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. You are listening to Get Down to Business. Got a lot more in store for you, so don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.